Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Cinema d'Amore. I'm your host, Chuck, joined by
Justin.
We're wrapping up our comedies and going into... It's wrapped. It's a wrap. And I would say we said the name of it at the end of the last episode, so it's not like it's a secret.
And
we're
it's
talking
also
about Oh
on
Brother.
the title of what you're listening to right now.
Yeah, you would have seen it. We're talking about Oh Brother, Where Art Thou from the Coen brothers. And I think we've mentioned this before. I would say I think this may be my second favorite of theirs. Big Lebowski's probably still the top for me, but this it's right up there. It's
not
very
True
close. God, True Grit has nothing on this film.
It's funny though.
It is borderline much more of a comedy. It's, you're not LaBeef.
You're not LaBeef is the greatest line.
It's just one of the greatest, just one of the best moments of all time. Just that entire scene is great. But yeah, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? It's another. We have done a lot of Coen brothers movies. We do. I would say we're fans. We've covered them a lot.
You're right about that. We are.
This is great. It's a period piece, which so many other movies are. I think we've talked about that before. They very rarely do any kind of contemporary movies. Their films are almost always set at some point in the past. It's not. I think maybe Blood Simple is in the present, and I know we brought it up last week. Like one of the movies we don't even like that much, probably their worst, which is Intolerable Cruelty, takes place in the present day.
Burn After Reading, is that present?
Burn After Reading, and no, I feel like Burn After Reading might actually be taking place a little bit back.
Big
I can't
Lebowski
remember
was
for sure.
like a few years in the past. It took place like 91 when the movie came out in 98, so it's like a short distance in the past.
Because they had to specifically go back to reference like Desert Storm, so it's like it had to take place in 1991 to make like some of the characters, like make Walter make sense. Basically, is put him a little closer to
the Vietnam
like
War.
wartime. Put him so he can complain about like George H.W. Bush. So they had to back that up, but yeah, they do like their period pieces. And I would say another great thing about this film that I get every time I watch, and I feel like I kind of, I don't know, forget about it, is I think this might be one of Roger Deakins' best looking movies, but it doesn't have anything like really flashy, so it doesn't get brought up in the way that a lot of his other films get brought up.
Yeah, you're right. Like when I think of Deakins, I think of like hard lighting, and this has none of that. This is almost always in the daylight, or like there's some really interesting shots. There's one where when they come across the Klan, and before that you see the Klan, the fires, like the warmth is just on the characters. Like it doesn't somehow reach the plants that they're hiding behind when they're peering. It's like just on them. So it doesn't necessarily feel real the whole time, but yeah, he's one of the best.
Yeah, and he's not using like he's not. It doesn't feel ever like he's trying to make the thing look old, but it just feels it feels natural that everything looks the way it looks. Like everything is dirty, everything's covered in mud. Nothing's. It's very rare that you find things that are clean. It's usually like it's a good way of differentiating the class of people is, our main characters of John Turturro, George Clooney, and Tim Blake Nelson are just constantly dirty. Even when it seems like they've gotten a shower recently, they still have like a cling of dirt to them.
You know what though? They have very nice teeth.
Yeah.
Almost everybody has very nice teeth in this movie.
Yeah. As John Turturro's character tells him, he might want to take a shower to get rid of the smell of that hair treatment he's been using.
Yeah, is that your favorite?
Dapper
gag?
Dan. Yeah, Dapper Dan, always my favorite. I don't want your fop. I'm a Dapper Dan man. When he's dealing with that guy, that'll take 2 weeks. Well, aren't we in just the anomaly of the world? Everything's 2 weeks from here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in that, the way you put it there, it's relatable. It might take place when is this? The
1931, I think. Yeah, because I think it's like, yeah, I know it's in the 30s. It's not like too far into it. About 1937.
That's the year
so late
Jack
30s.
Nicholson was born.
Not a coincidence.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, this has a lot of great comedy in it, and it kind of goes back to the slapstick route, which I don't know. We more or less kind of had with all of our movies for this month.
We got a little bit. I mean, it has a great opening of them busting off of the chain gang and trying to hop that train. And George Clooney's the only one that makes it onto the train. The other two trip and fall over themselves, and when he gets yanked off, it just is immediately like, oh, I just can't rely on you guys to do anything, can I?
Yeah, there's so much great humor like that. I like whenever they show up at Totoro's family's house or whatever.
His cousin,
and that kid's just terribly shooting the gun to the where he's like, I nicked, one mailman or something.
I shot
like
the
that.
census man.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, that's great, but it's like,
that's a good boy there.
Kid's really kind of terrifying with how bad of an aim he is. There's a lot of blind people in this, or there's something going on with eyes, at least eyeballs.
The
glasses.
blind hand car person, the Cyclops by John Goodman.
Oh, and Goodman was fucking hilarious too, where he's when they get to the clan part and he only has one eye hole cut out.
Yeah, they just didn't cut it out. Instead of wearing an eye patch and having a regular hood, he just specifically has one without an eye hole cut in it.
One. Yep.
The story, to get into that, they've got to escape from a chain gang. The whole story, I love that it's basically is just the Odyssey by Homer, set in rural Mississippi, and just the way they do a really creative job of turning the things in that into what they become in this film. Again, like we said, John Goodman's the Cyclops because he's massive and only has one working eye. So it's like that just works. They have the sirens, which are just women that seem to get them drunk with alcohol so that they can turn them in for the bounty on their heads. But they do a great job of working in.
Was it George Nelson?
Yeah. We have Babyface Nelson,
which I related hard to him whenever he just gets really depressed and takes off.
You're gonna say when he shoots off the cows.
When he shoots off the cows is pretty funny too.
I hate cows more than cops.
Not the livestock, George. Come on. But no, and he when they rob that bank, and then they're all just hanging out at the fire, and he just gets up and leaves, and it's like, just some people, they get really depressed when they're.
Yeah.
I don't think
I'm sure we'll see George back on top.
I mean, technically,
there's lots of great foreshadowing in this film. Yeah, there's all sorts of great moments of foreshadowing, predicting, coming along. The hand car guy that brings up their quest. It's like, you'll see, he's supposed to be the oracles from Greek mythology, and he brings up, you'll see a cow on the roof of a cotton gin. And they're like, that sounds ridiculous. This guy is crazy. How could he predict our future? He says we're going to see cows on the roof. They do get a little like Forrest Gump level of like bringing in actual real characters like Babyface Nelson. Tommy Johnson is just Robert Johnson, the blues guitarist. But they do it in a really subtle way that never feels over the top or ridiculous. Like It's like, oh, we just happened to come across that guy. He was just there. We hung out with him for a little while, robbed a bank with him.
Yeah, and I love the bit too where the lady, I don't even hear what she says, but she calls him Babyface, and he's like, stops dead, like, who said that? And this is this like little old lady is like, nobody calls me Babyface. Just so pissed about it. Well, and then what's his name too? Milton. What's his name?
Stephen Root.
Stephen Root. He's like blind too.
Yeah. Or has like just two lazy eyes or something.
Well,
I guess he must be blind because they're like, they very clearly like, because they make the joke multiple times where they're like, he's like, you boys aren't colored, are you? And they're like, oh, but we're all colored, sir, except for the guitar player. Then they make this, John Turturro does like the reverse joke. He's like, I don't do colored music. And they're like, well, sir, we're not actually colored. I mean, except for the guitar player.
Yeah.
They also throw him off too because he's like, I'll pay you $10 a person, and he's like, oh well, our fifth member will have to just sign an X. Only 4 of us can sign, like, to get an extra $10 out of him.
Yeah. There you go. You figured out this mystery, Chuck.
Yeah, we've gotten to the bottom of it.
The thing that always stuck in my head was the whole Toad thing, where after the sirens, they're all laying in like this really weird position, and John Turturro's clothes are just there. He's not there, and they think that it's his like heartbeat, but it ends up being this this frog. They're like, he turned into a horny toad, and they have him in that shoebox whenever they meet the Bible salesman John Goodman,
Big Dan.
Big Dan. And then I just think it's so funny when he's like opens that box thinking that it's gonna be full of money or something, and he's like, "What the fuck is this?"
It's a toad.
He just crunches them, throws them to the tree. Very abusive to animals. I don't think PETA is gonna enjoy this movie. I mean, we were kind of abusive to animals on the last one too.
Just another running theme through these films we've got going on. Yeah, I do love the entire scene with Big Dan, which, I mean, John Goodman's always great. He's another one of their, they really go deep into all of their actors that they love working with pop up in this film. I mean, you're really only missing like Steve Buscemi from like their really big lineup of.
He's right. Yeah. Like he's there.
Yeah. I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if they offered him a role and just maybe he was busy at the moment, because it feels like there's characters that would fit him very well, but
he was probably doing Spy Kids 2 or whatever the hell.
Yeah, he couldn't make it.
I don't know what the hell was it coming out in the early 2000s,
sometime around there. But yeah, John Goodman's great. I love from the moment you see him when they're having their conversation, he pulls out that big wad of money, and John Goodman just like immediately is like, "Oh, I see where I can get some victims," which feels like it's making me think of The Righteous Gemstones, because he's basically a fake Bible salesman. Like he just seems like he's taking advantage.
I thought you were going to say the strip club with Chris.
No.
He had all his dollars.
Yeah. When he knows how to take advantage. He
talks about how much money he's got, but he's like, you'll pay for my dinner and then I'll meet you out here.
Yeah. And yeah, the reaction of George Clooney in that scene always cracks me up when he pulls that branch off that tree and like smacks Tim Blake Nelson in the face with it, and he just goes, "What's going on, Big Dan?" Like just keeps eating corn, like he doesn't even stop. He's just
That's a great scene too, because
that seems weird.
Yeah, I like that shot where he gets smacked in the face, and then it's like 2 shots later where he just spits all that corn.
There's more corn. Yeah, he's got so
it's
much
almost
corn.
Like spitting up blood, but it was just because he's corn on the cob. Which is a great gag.
Yeah. John Goodman's great. Charles Durning is back after the Hudsucker proxy. He also playing a ridiculous. he doesn't die in this one. He has his like great yes men that are with him that are all like just like he does genuinely seem like he maybe like wants to do something or help or in some way do something, but all the people around him are just like they just agree with everything he says.
What if we get a midget,
even when he's trying to mock
a
him,
smaller midget?
That's the stupidest idea I've ever heard of. Doesn't matter how tall he is.
Yeah, he doesn't come up with any ideas on his own, but he's like, come on, can't you guys come up with something else?
Yeah. That's
what is
like
He's
the B story of this.
Daniel or something.
Pappy O'Daniel.
Dan. The name Dan is everywhere.
Lots of Dans.
What were you saying? Before I cut you off?
Yeah. That's our B story in this is the battle for being the governor of Mississippi between him and his opponent Homer Stokes.
Is it the only thing where they cut away from our three main characters?
I think so, pretty much. There's like it's everything else like always is involved with them. That's like the only time they ever leave them is to see what those guys are doing.
Yeah. And you know what? Like John Turturro's character, he goes he gets arrested, so you do have that scene of him. I don't know, it looks like he's gonna get lynched. We'll say he's getting pinched because they're questioning him. That's like the only scene you get with him by himself, but you get like 3 scenes of the guy that's trying to run for governor.
Yeah.
Just sitting there talking to his sons and like nobody else. George Clooney's character's not there. Tim Blake Nelson's character's not there. I really do like Tim Blake Nelson's being baptized. He's like, I don't have any sins. I don't have any crimes. And
I've been
like,
saved.
I thought you lied about that. Well, I did, but I've been forgiven. The sin of that was also forgiven. And then when they like steal that pie when he pays for it because he's trying to like not commit crimes anymore.
He's trying to be the good guy. He's like this feels like a good continuation of Dumb and Dumber because George Clooney is obviously the only character that seems to be relatively smart, and it feels like he is running around with his own pair of Dumb and Dumber. It seems like maybe John Turturro's like has somewhat of a thought, but like Tim Blake Nelson just completely will go along with like whatever somebody else says to him. They do that.
Not always.
They do it a few times where they try to put it to a vote.
Thing. Yeah,
and he's like, I'm with you guys.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. That's my vote. Playing it safe.
Would you like some gopher? It's like another like weird scene where he just keeps being like, "You want some gopher? I can offer you some gopher."
It always sticks with me too, with the whole Toad thing, where they're in the movie theater, and he's like, "We thought you was a toad," and John Turturro looks so fucking confused, like, "What?"
Yeah,
I also do like when they were,
and then he does his like, "Do not seek the treasure."
Yeah, and then when they have them in their car, and when they're in the car right after they thought he turned into a toad, and like George Clooney at first is like, "That's crazy," and then he's like, "Okay, I won't entirely roll out that he didn't turn into a toad."
It's not incredibly likely, but yeah, they think the treasure they're going to get is $1.2 million, since that's what George Clooney's character tells them after he knocked over an armored car that he's got $1.2 million stashed away.
That's 500,000 each.
400,000 Dell, but
400,000. Yeah.
Yeah. Then they get but they do soon learn that actually he just needed to break out to stop his wife from getting married, which again is another. And I feel like it's such that there are so many elements in this movie that are just great, like Coen brothers things that they put into their movies, which is like having characters like repeat something over and over again until it just becomes like stupidly funny because they just keep saying it when he keeps going, "I'm the paterfamilias."
Mm-hmm.
He just keeps repeating that like every time they're like,
what's he say when they're being shot at in the barn?
Where I think it's like, we're in trouble now, or we're in a tough spot now, and he just keeps saying that over and over again. we're in a tough spot now, and he just keeps
I like they
repeating
just
it over and over again.
burn that guy's barn down, and then the other time that they're not in the barn, but they're like, we got you surrounded, and they just like immediately
start trying to burn the barn down. Yeah, they're just going across the South, burning barns down.
Yeah, and I do like too, where like it comes out that George Clooney was lying about the treasure because he wanted to see his wife, but he wasn't lying about the fact that that place was going to get flooded by X amount of time. Like, he was like right on the money with that. Because that's the thing that seems the most insane. He's like, yeah, we only got a couple days to get there before that happens, and then saves their life. I like when they're like, didn't you hear we were pardoned? They said it on the radio.
We don't got radio. We don't got radio. But yeah, that character, which is also, I guess, basically the devil, because it's exactly what Tommy describes when he's like, I had to sell my soul to play the guitar, and they're like, what's the devil look like? And it's just that guy, like, oh, he's a white guy with just blank eyes, and he was always walking around with his hound dog.
Because Clooney's describing it, he's like, oh, red scalies. He's like, no, he's actually white like you.
Yeah, but yeah, we can't ignore the fact that in the middle of all of their adventuring, we mentioned they went to get paid for playing some music. They randomly record a hit record in the middle of nowhere, being the Soggy Bottom Boys.
Gotta love that. I feel like that's the Soggy Bottom stuff's kind of weird, but totally fits the time.
Yeah, it's exactly what you'd expect a group to be named in the 30s. Everyone can't get enough of it. They all want to get their hands on that record.
You know, good.
I just love because it's like we see he has that machine that like makes records as you're doing it. And like I've seen Jack White, because he's obsessed with like old stuff like that, and he has like the exact same thing in his place down in, I think, Nashville. I think sort of he has that record plant at, and he has like a booth where you can record straight to record.
Third Man Records, where he does the wax pressing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But he's the person that wants to sing in the exact same booth that George Clooney sings in. So
he would if he had that opportunity for something like that, to have that exact same setup.
I was gonna say too, I like all the stuff that they kind of don't choose not to show in this, like when they're running away with their chains on, and then they have hats. And then they have, they don't show them, they just show them stealing that chicken. But, when they meet up with Totoro's cousin, he's like, and I bet you what, we get those chains off you. And it cuts to they're inside relaxing because they already got the chains off.
They'll just hang out around the radio because there's nothing else to do.
That watch that he steals. And he's like, but you stole that before he turned out to be awful. He's like, no, I was just borrowing it until I knew for sure that he wasn't awful.
That's not how that works. I think that's like our first glimpse too of his obsession with his hair, when he's like, you wouldn't happen to be able to lend me a hairnet, would you? You wouldn't happen to have one of those lying around.
It is funny too when they're trying to get on their trail, and they have the Dapper Dan's can, and then that loose hairnet that they find.
They can always find him by his scent, which like I said, John Turturro brings that up, is like, you might want to wash that out. It's a very strong odor. Might want to do something about that.
And that must be what Holly Hunt loves, because she's there's a reference about her new fiance having the same hair smell.
Yeah, he smells him. He's like, you've been using my hair treatment.
I also like him having 7 kids or whatever, where he's like, oh, those are my 3 daughters. And then he finds out where his wife is. And when he goes
the store, she's got 5 more.
Yeah.
Including a new one that he's like, who's that?
Yeah.
Like he didn't even know that one was born. Which I don't think they ever mentioned, like how long he's been in jail. I'm like, is that one even his? Like, has he been in for a few years, or is this very recent? Yeah, I don't think they ever do say how much time he was in before he got back out.
I mean, with the age of the ones that he knows about, it could only have been a couple years.
Yeah, he's the
Yeah, another one said,
paterfamilias.
"You're not bona fide." And then when they talk
Yeah.
to Holly Hunt, she's like, "You're not bona fide." It's
Yeah, they're just repeating all the words that she has said to them. It's thrown
yeah,
out of the. He gets. What happened to you guys? Well, we got banned from the Woolworths. I don't know if it's just that one or all the locations.
yeah, that's like, yeah, that's where the humor comes from too. Yeah, we did this. We got banned from Woolworths. All of them, or just the one? I don't know.
I'm not sure. Not sure how that works.
This one, like, yeah, this one has a couple things that keep coming back, characters that keep coming back, jokes that keep coming back. But for the most part, like, yeah, I don't know. It's they're good at They're good at, like, I want to call it slapstick, but it's not necessarily always the slapstick. But I think like they have a good eye for what's funny, but not necessarily what's currently happening with comedic movies at the time. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, their movies don't feel like. I mean, who else was making a movie set in the 1930s Mississippi? And it's like that's comedy gold right there.
Who directed Mississippi Burning?
Yeah, the other great comedy set in Mississippi.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Willem Dafoe's great comedic breakthrough.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, this has all of their great actors that they love to put in their films coming back.
What's interesting now, because like after seeing them split, and the tragedy of Macbeth is what Joel Coen did, and Drive Away Dolls is what Ethan did, and Joel chose like to go like the real serious route, and Ethan went to go with like the ridiculous. And I think that's kind of where when they come together and they work together, I think that's kind of where the charm comes from, because like you said, for it being such a like goofy movie, I feel like the goofiness is there from Ethan, but like there's such a seriousness in the way that everything is shot, the way Deakins take, like it doesn't feel like he's shooting a comedy. Um, like I can't think of any other way to describe it, but there's like funny shit happening.
Yeah, it's like is Joel the one that comes up with the idea of I want to make a movie about based on Homer's Odyssey, and Ethan's like, I'm going to turn a guy into a toad.
Well, I do think you're probably very accurate with that guess. Because I mean, if he's like, I want to do Macbeth, that's Joel. So yeah,
yeah, he's the more serious of the two. I mean, Joel's always. I know they've always been. They say they're always like a partnership with how they shot, but I don't know. Joel's always the one credited as the director. So is it like always his? He's still the oldest brother. He's still the one that's like, well, Ethan might have said that, but I still have like final say if I want it done this way. But Ethan gets to throw in the little random stuff here and there.
Well, I know from working on Drive Away Dolls, Ethan worked with his wife, who also edited this, because they had the Roderick James, which is Joel and Ethan Coen, and Trisha Cook, which is Ethan's wife, and Ethan and Trisha both directed Drive Away Dolls, but only Ethan has the credit because of the DGA. And I think they both wrote it, but I feel like only she has the writing credit. Like they ended up splitting things. And then when I saw that, I understand 100% why we'll see Joel Coen or Pete Farley. Like we're only seeing one of these people's names at any given time because of the roles that they made. And they have such a good relationship with, I mean, they're brothers. Both pairs are brothers, but They have such a good relationship that it's like they don't really necessarily need the credit. And I don't want to say anything disparaging against Ethan, but I lean towards Joel Coen. I think that his stuff's a little bit better. But even things like when you watch Fargo's got some really funny moments in it. So, like, and then it gets as violent as like the wood chipper scene. Like it gets up.
Yeah. They definitely balance out They definitely like to balance like a real dark humor. I mean, a lot of stuff happening in this movie is just about them trying to hang these guys multiple times.
What's the darker movie though? Is it of the movies that we all discussed this month? Is it Dumb and Dumber? Is that the darkest movie?
I mean, Dumb and Dumber still has those fantasy sequences from Lloyd that still might be the darkest thing out there.
Yeah, I do like the Confederate flag that they use as like a javelin, and
the entire. It's a great, that entire scene is just great. Which
it's like a marching band or something, like they're doing some weird dance.
They're all just, they're idiots. Like they're like it makes me think of obviously more recently something like Django, with like just like any time to be like, look, these guys are idiots. They are not smart. They're morons. Like this is how stupid they are.
But the way John Goodman catches that javelin, like you think it's going to take out his other eye, since they have some weird thing going on with eyes, and he catches it, and then it cuts to them cutting the burning cross cable
by the burning cross.
Yeah,
which I love. I love everything about that scene, and like
politician
the fact that
too, when he's yelling and he's like they destroyed my burning cross.
They desecrated a burning cross. I saw it with my own eyes. He's like, I'm a member of a secret society I do not believe I have to name right now. It's great too. The like how you were saying, the comedy of John Goodman having the hood with only one eye. But I think even funnier moment is when the dwarf comes out and he's also in a robe. But it's like, I don't know, something about that makes it funny. Just that it's like, it's clearly that. Well,
then who it is. Yeah,
that it's that guy. Exactly. Yeah, we learned that it's him because the dwarf comes over also in a hood, and you're like, oh, it's that guy.
Because he's for the little people, or the little man.
He's a man of the little people. Yeah.
I do really like that scene too, where they're like, we got to get the color guard. So they take out the color guard, and then they're chasing Tommy, who's about to get burned or lynched or something, and John Goodman's character is like following them, like chasing after them, but there's no shots that really like give attention to that besides the first shot where he notices them. But like as they're trying to talk to Tommy, like we're gonna save you, we're gonna rescue you, he's like in the background.
It's another joke. It's another joke made at the fact that John Goodman knows it's them because he can smell Dapper Dan.
Yeah,
like he turns around and he's just like, I smell something.
Yeah, and then when they rip their hoods off, they think that they're black because
they were like rubbing dirt all over themselves to like hide in the dark. The color guard is colored. Who made them the color guard? This is ridiculous. Yeah. Then they literally.
Would you say there's a little bit of foreshadowing too when Tim Blake Nelson's talking about Totoro that became a frog and says, "Oh, maybe we need to find a wizard to turn him back."
Yeah, they did find a wizard, the grandest of wizards.
Yeah, they really do. Yeah,
everything about that's great. And then I love that when they finally get to the to like an some type of political event for the Homer Stokes character, and he knows his wife's going to be there. She's going to get married the next day. So they bust in there and get up on stage, pretending to be a band, wearing like the worst fake wigs and her fake beards match. You very clearly just see the string holding it up.
Oh, I love the scene too where he's talking to his wife and he's like, "Hey," and he's got like that ridiculously long mustache.
Yeah.
Like he just looks like a total mess.
Yeah. And then Pappy O'Daniel comes in. I love too that they got Tommy on stage and he's like, I think maybe these people are into integration. He's like, maybe they are okay with that kind of stuff. I also do enjoy watching him. He's like trying to climb up on stage, like from the front. He's like, he gives it like a shot. He's like, oh, okay, get out of my way. I got to find the stairs. I got to get up there.
Yeah, he's great. His cronies are great. I do love the cast.
He's got to make them his brain trust.
Yeah,
which I love is basically just seems like it's like basically I need you to replace the other three morons that I have with me that clearly don't know anything.
Yeah, we don't even know if they go back to that. Like we kind of know that George Clooney gets his life back together with his wife. I'm guess the pardon has stuck.
Yeah, I do. I also enjoy that after he told her he was or when he reveals that the reason that he went to jail wasn't for stealing from an armored car, it was practicing law without a license. And then immediately when he's talking to her, he's like, I got a great plan. I got a guy that can get me a dental license, and then we move to another city, and then I could just be a dentist.
There was a thing in recent news where, like, I guess Tarantino was talking about George Clooney, and said that he hasn't done anything good since the turn of the century. And George Clooney was like fucking pissed about that, like, because they were talking about I can't think of the name of it, the vampire movie that he did with Tarantino, and
From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, From Dusk Till Dawn. And
is that what he's saying is the last good movie that he made?
No. He was the guy that was interviewing him was like, Tarantino was a pretty good actor in that, and then George Clooney was like, he's like, no, was he? No, I don't think so. Like, because he pissed him. But I was thinking this is very much turn of the century George Clooney, and I was trying to think, is there any other George Clooney that you can think of after this movie that's like an essential George Clooney movie?
Up in the Air.
Up in the Air is your favorite?
I mean, I would probably say. He also did a Fantastic Mr. Fox would have been after that.
Yeah. Has he done more Wes Anderson now? Are you looking up his whole career right now?
I am on his filmography. He is not.
Okay.
Although he did more Coens because he was in Hail Caesar.
And Burn After Reading, right?
And Burn After Reading, yeah.
Yeah, he was. He built the dildo thing.
Yeah, of course he was in that movie.
Well, I think it was because he's doing press right now for Wolves with Brad Pitt. Yeah. And I think it was, I guess, like Tarantino was saying something about like how Brad Pitt's a movie star, but George Clooney is not. So Clooney's getting jacked about it.
Yeah, come on. He's been in some stuff here and there. The Descendants, that's another good movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if in the past, like, if more recently he's been in too many big things. He slowed down a little bit. He finally got married. I think that was it. He finally got married, and he's like, all right, I'm going to take some time.
Wasn't he in a bad accident too? Didn't he get hurt in a motorcycle accident?
I don't remember hearing about that. Not saying that it's not a thing that could have happened, but
you're like, it's not on his IMDb, so I'm not quite sure.
It's not on here. I'm not believing it.
I think he was. I can search right now. George.
I mean, he was in Gravity.
You're like, I don't know if he was in a motorcycle accident. I don't know if he was in a motorcycle accident, but I do know that he was in Gravity.
That's all I know.
Yeah, Gravity was great too. Yeah, in 2018, he was in a near fatal. Oh, was it the 2020? He was in he's in 2 motorcycle accidents. He's
at some point.
He's the Harrison Ford, but instead of flying, it's motorcycles. 2018 Italy motorcycle crash. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Well, he's bounced back from it, so.
But when it says what he's known for, on IMDb, what he's known for, the top 4 movies are all in the, the millennium. Michael Clayton, that's a great one. Yeah. Up in the Air, which you brought up. The Ides of March, which I kind of forget. And The Monuments Men, which I did not like. But you know what? It's there.
Yeah.
He's in a lot of Nespresso commercials. So.
Yeah. His most recent work was getting not Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden off the Democratic ticket for president, I guess. That was his most recent work.
That was his most recent work. He literally did bring it up, and then it was all in the news, like actor George Clooney, and that's what snowballed everything.
Everyone was like, "It's ridiculous. Stop questioning Joe Biden." And then George Clooney's like, "Look, man, we need to do something." And people were like, "I don't know. I think George Clooney's got a point. I think maybe we should start listening."
That is exactly what it was. I think George Clooney's got a point, and that's where they went. Yeah, he was in The Flash. He was in this movie If with the Imaginary Friends, the John Krasinski movie that he directed.
I do want to see Wolves. I think that looks entertaining. I don't know. Him and Brad Pitt are a good pairing.
Yeah.
It feels like we have the whole Ocean's crew off on doing weird buddy movies, because he's got that movie with Brad Pitt, Wolves, and then I can't think of the title of it, but Matt Damon and Casey Affleck have a movie coming out together where they're a buddy pair.
The Instigators, right?
Instigators, that was it. Yeah, I couldn't think of the name of it. I think that might be on Apple Plus already, or it's going to be within the week or two. I haven't watched it, but it was just weird that we have 2 movies starring 4 people from the Ocean's films, where they're all the leads in some sort of buddy. I think the Instigators is they're robbing somebody, and Wolves is they're kidnapping somebody. So it's the plots are slightly overlapping, it feels too.
I'm curious now that I wonder what movies that Tarantino is talking about where he thought that he was good. Out of Sight's the only one that kind of fits the timeline, because before 2000 he's in South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. He's in was it Three Kings?
Three Kings is good. I mean, yeah, Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin, and then what the hell else? He was really TV before that. What the fuck is he talking about?
Yeah, I mean, up to that point, From Dusk Till Dawn, that was pretty much his biggest movie at that point.
Maybe that's the
he
one.
Really wasn't in anything. I think it is. He literally is he was only good when he was in a movie that I was a part of.
Yeah, I mean, he's made some bad movies like almost anybody has, but he has a lot of great movies too. I have no idea.
Yeah.
George Clooney, the director, though, he's maybe not as good. I did like his Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, but I don't feel like he's topped that. Then he do the movie too with
Good Night and Good Luck's pretty good.
Was it The Boys in the Boat?
Yeah, that's his most recent one.
I think I'm thinking of I forgot he did Good Night and Good Luck. I remembered he was in it. But he did that football one, and that one wasn't very good.
Yeah.
I didn't like...
We talked about Monuments Men. That was okay. I've never seen Ides of March.
Ides of March I liked, but I don't really remember much of it.
Yeah.
I think it kind of had a weird... did you see Promised Land with Matt Damon?
No.
Oh, I think you would like that movie. It kind of has I think Ides of March kind of has a twist similar to that, but I'm not going to say what the twist is if you haven't seen it.
It's got some twists in there that I don't know if I can handle it.
But if you're going to ask me, the last movie that he was great in was probably Hail Caesar, like you said.
I can't, I haven't seen Haven't seen Promised Land because I've got to maintain my forever never watching anything made by Gus Van Sant. I have never sat down and watched a single one of his movies.
How?
He's probably like one of the, like, that's the only major director I can think of that I have just somehow avoided watching any of his films over my entire life. Not that I've like specifically gone out of my way not to. It's just like I just never get around to it.
You never saw the Psycho remake?
Nope.
Oh god.
I've seen like bits and pieces of any, like I've seen like when people have like when they've posted like, oh, this is like a really good scene from this movie, and like I've seen a couple scenes here and there from like Good Will Hunting, you know, that's like, oh, this is like one of the best scenes from that movie.
Yeah. How
but
have
I've
you
never
not seen that fucking movie.
I've never sat down and watched any of his films.
All right, well, we'll have to change that on the podcast then, and I'll make sure that it's a good one.
Next year, it's just all Gus Van Sant all year.
You know, he has enough movies to probably make it.
We could fill out a good chunk of that time. Yeah.
Have you ever seen Red Hot Chili Peppers' greatest videos? Because he was a director for Under the Bridge. Did you ever see Under the Bridge?
I mean, I probably have. I'm sure. I had to have probably.
I think you might have.
That's my one.
Doesn't count as a movie.
It's my one thing.
Have you seen the music video for Hanson's Weird? He did that.
I would say I haven't.
He has some good ones. For me, he's a director that's kind of like 50-50. Some of his stuff's like really good. Some of his stuff's like, what the fuck? But I'm actually surprised because I think he is a pretty solid director that I think that you would actually really like some of his movies.
I probably would. I don't know why. I've just, like I said, not that I've gone out of my way to try not to. I've just never been like, I got to check out that new Gus Van Sant movie.
He's one of those people, too, where it's like, I don't necessarily think that he has like a very distinct directing style.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't really see a lot of stuff. Like I could watch a Gus Van Sant movie and probably not realize that he directed that movie. But yeah, we'll have to find something.
It does feel like the closest I've gotten to watching a Gus Van Sant movie is either watching the Red Hot Chili Peppers video or Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back when they're doing...
You never saw Drugstore Cowboy? Like, I thought, like, for sure there's something here. Elephant was a weird one. You didn't see Last Days?
Nope. The only one of his that I do own My Own Private Idaho, because I think I just randomly got that on sale with like Criterion stuff, but I never actually watched it. It's just sitting on my shelf. And I'm always like, I should watch that one day, and I just never do.
Well, you can't break... Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you should find his worst one.
I mean,
he was also the director. Oh, it must be just about River Phoenix then. Never mind. I was like, he also directed something called My Own Private River. And then I was like, oh, wait, I think it's just about River Phoenix. Because one of his last movies is My Own Private Idaho. Which is Shakespeare. That's a Shakespeare movie.
Mm.
I actually just got the To Die For. I've never seen that. No, I haven't seen everything here, but I've seen most of his shit. Anyways, way off subject, I guess. We got all the way to Gus Van Sant, but we were talking about George Clooney, so
it all connected back.
It did all connect. Can we get him back to the Coen? Shit. I don't even know if I could.
Yeah. I mean, that's our big thing that, like we said.
Well, he did Promised Land with Matt Damon, and Matt Damon is a huge Coen brother. He's really started popping up maybe since True Grit. I maybe before that, but I think it's True Grit where he just started being in everything.
Yeah. Yeah, we do enjoy our Coen brothers. I think I mentioned before we were talking about like picking comedies. I mean, I do have a soft spot for Lady Killers. I do really like that movie. Mm-hmm. It's not great at all. It's not their best, but there is just something so bizarre about that movie. And it's another one that is, going back to this old timey it does get into some of the slapstick stuff of like guys like falling down the stairs and like there's like 6 or 7 guys that are all trying to kill this old woman to
I think there's
need to,
5,
like, get under
and
her
there's that
house.
one that's a like dumb football player.
Yeah. You have J.K. Simmons, who likes to talk about his IBS a lot. He's got to keep telling everyone, I don't think you understand. I have IBS.
I enjoyed the Lady Killers. I honestly think the Driveway Dolls is close to the Lady Killers. So,
well, and I might enjoy that movie if it's like that, because I do like
weird.
that movie.
It's weird. I can't tell you. It's one of those movies where I think that most people will love it or hate it. I'm just most impressed with the fact that of all the things that I've worked on, the script to the final product like is almost identical. I don't think anything in that script didn't make it onto the screen. And that's actually pretty crazy to me. I mean, I know that it's a writer-director, but even when you have the writer-director, like I feel like they fight themselves a little bit and some things don't work and they take it out. And for some reason, that movie was, nope, everything we wrote, it's going to fucking stay in the movie.
Yeah, I saw his next movie. I don't think Joel has anything listed yet, but I know Ethan has another movie listed that's co-written by his wife again.
Yeah, they're doing they have like a trilogy of movies. I don't think they're the same characters, but they're these lesbian movies or something, like lesbian trilogy or something. And the next one it's Margaret Qualley again, but I think that she plays a different character. I don't think she's the same character. Chris Evans and maybe Aubrey Plaza or something like that. But that's another.
Even in their solo movies when they're not working together, they do still have that thing of they just love working with the same people over and over again. Like that once they feel comfortable with a person, they're just like, nope, get that guy back. I need him again.
Yeah, I mean, ours had the surprise cameos, but everything leaked beforehand from I think an extra or something, and
yeah,
the extra's like, I never signed an NDA, so good luck suing me. Yeah. So they didn't hide anything, but in my movie, Matt Damon was supposed to be a secret. Pedro Pascal was supposed to be a secret. Miley Cyrus was supposed to be a secret. And then, by the time that it came out, they're like, everybody's in it. We're not fucking around with you. Just so you know, here's the whole cast list. We're not worried about secrets anymore. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like Matt Damon's, for some reason, has been he's the cameo guy now. And it's not just the Coen brothers. It's in everything. He's he just fucking pops up out of nowhere.
I mean, he was the weird cameo in The Zero Theorem by Terry Gilliam.
Yeah. Interstellar, he just popped up. He was a bad guy for 5 minutes and then died.
I'm like, does Matt Damon just have this much free time to just because he always just at any moment just ready to be in your movie for one scene.
Well, you know what? Our movie, I think he filmed his stuff in a week. So, yeah, for some of these performances, I'm sure it's not that much time. If he's squeeze me in, fit me in. And then you kind of get to work with every director, but you don't have to take a ton of time learning your role, I guess.
It's you can say you were in one of their movies without having to.
I do think that his character in Driveway Dolls is one of his better characters. So for what the movie is, he is definitely one of the more interesting parts. But I think we'll definitely cover that movie sometime next year, probably.
Make it work.
We'll make it work. Yeah, I mean, you can watch it ahead of time if you want.
Nope, I'm saving it for that.
Savor it. Yeah, and then next week we're off, and the week after that we have animation as our theme, and we'll be doing 3 animated movies from 1978 to 2019. All foreign movies, actually, I think. I don't think any of our animated picks are from the United States.
I don't think so.
No, I think they're all across the pond.
Yeah.
But yeah, this year, I feel like this year's been going pretty fast. We're flying. Yeah,
It's
we
a
really
little
only
too
have
fast.
4 more themes left.
There's some extra stuff in there, though.
There's a little bit of extra in there. If we can't give our listeners a little bit of extra, then what are we doing? Anyways, stay tuned, and
we are Cinema de
we'll be back
Follow
in 2
us on
weeks.
Facebook and Twitter to stay
See
up
ya.
to date with news and information on upcoming episodes. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, Pandora, Alexa, or iHeartRadio. It would be greatly appreciated if you subscribe to our podcast on your platform of choice. We also appreciate feedback, so rate us, review us, and let us know what you think. And above all else, thank you for listening.